Hi everyone, I'm Rose, and today on Book vs. Movie, I'm going into Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So let's get our Parseltongue translations ready and prepare to open the door to the Chamber of Secrets. Why am I coming back to Harry Potter? Certainly not out of any love for J.K. Rowling, who is one of the most divisive people in the modern world. No, it's because I think I figured out where Rowling grabbed most of her stories from. I'm doing a separate series on what I think the origins were for the Harry Potter books, but I figured I might as well do a book versus movie for each while I go through the material. It also gives me a place to provide a detailed synopsis for each book, just in case you haven't read it or don't remember the details. I'm doing these as separate episodes so that I can focus on the book and the movie here, and then on the inspirations for the books separately. I tried to do it in one series, but it proved to be too cumbersome, and they work better as separate episodes. So, if you're curious about what I believe to be Rowling's inspirations for her books, check out my Harry Potter Origins series. For now, let's go on to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is the second book in the Harry Potter series. It was published in 1998, a year after the first book, and was an immediate bestseller. Because Book 2 in the Harry Potter series does that rare and splendid thing where it was just as good as the first book in the series. Writers almost never pull this off, and it went a long way into establishing the success of Harry Potter. By maintaining the quality and pitch of the books, Rowling kept her aura of a magician who could reveal ever more wonders to the crowd. The second book in the series starts with Harry home from magic school on summer vacation with his adoptive family, the Dursleys. The Dursleys hate magic, and they hate Harry, only treating him somewhat better now that they know he can do magic. They don't know he isn't supposed to do magic at home, however, and he doesn't immediately correct them. Harry is visited by an ugly little elf named Dobby, who warns Harry Potter not to go back to school, and that his life is in danger if he does go back. To make his point, Dobby wrecks a dinner party Mr. Dursley had been throwing for his boss. Harry tries to stop Dobby, but fails, and Mr. Dursley blames Harry for the mess, and locks him up in his room for the rest of the summer. Harry is broken up by his friend Ron Weasley and Ron's brothers, who show up at Harry's window in a flying car. They take Harry and Harry's owl back home with them, so they can all prepare for the beginning of the new year at school. Harry enjoys Ron's chaotic, magic-filled home, with Ron's many brothers, his little sister Ginny, and their happy, loving parents. They all go off to Diagon Alley to buy school supplies for the coming year, and Harry accidentally goes too far and ends up in Borgin and Burke's, a dark magic shop. While Harry hides, he hears his nemesis Draco Malfoy and Draco's father Lucius come into the shop and arrange for the sale of some dark items. Harry hides while listening to the transaction, and then makes his way out of the shop. Harry's friend Hagrid finds him and leads him back to Diagon Alley, where he meets their new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, a handsome and conceited famous author of books about daring magical escapades. His name is Gilderoy Lockhart. Later, when they go to take the train to the school, the magic portal on the hidden platform won't let Ron and Harry through. Harry and Ron end up taking the Weasleys' flying car to go chase after the train to Hogwarts. The car gets them all the way to the school before giving up at the last minute and crashes into a willow tree on the school grounds. It then ejects both of them and their luggage onto the grass before driving off into the forest. Ron's wand is broken in the crash, and he repairs it by taping the two halves back together. They begin their second year at wizarding school together at Hogwarts. Draco Malfoy has bought his way onto the school's Quidditch team by buying the team brand new top-of-the-line broomsticks. When Harry's friend Hermione criticizes this, Draco calls her a mudblood, causing an immediate stir amongst the other students. As it turns out, this is a highly derogatory term for a wizard with no magical parents, and the Malfoys are believers in pureblood magical families. Ron is so mad about this slur that he attempts to curse Draco with his broken wand, but the spell backfires, causing Ron to burp up slugs for the rest of the day. Later, Harry is serving an evening of detention for crashing into the willow when he hears a voice coming from somewhere, saying it wants to rip, tear, and kill. Harry meets up with Ron on the way back to their dorm, and he tells Ron about hearing the voice, but neither knows what it might be. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are invited to a Death Day celebration for the ghost Nearly Headless Nick on Halloween, and on the way back from the party, Harry hears the strange voice again, moving through the castle. He tries to follow it, and it leads him to a hallway with a large puddle of water on the ground and a message written on the wall that says, "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware." Below the message on the wall is the caretaker Filch's cat, Mrs. Norris, who has been tacked to the wall as a warning. A bunch of the students find Harry and the writing on their way back to the dorms and think Harry is the one who attacked Mrs. Norris. Dumbledore examines the cat and realizes it isn't dead, only petrified, and that it can be cured. Hermione asks their ghostly history of magic teacher, Professor Binns, about the Chamber of Secrets, and he tells the class that it's a myth about a chamber built by one of the 4 founders of Hogwarts, Salazar Slytherin, and that it's said to house a mysterious and powerful monster who will one day be released on the school by Slytherin's heir to attack any non-pureblood students at the school. But Binns insists it's just a story and that no such chamber has ever been found. Harry, Ron, and Hermione go looking around the corridor where the cat was found and see a bunch of spiders leaving the castle near there. They go into an abandoned bathroom, which they think might have been the source of the water on the floor, and talk to the ghost of Moaning Myrtle, who says she had been hiding in a pipe on the night of the attack and hadn't seen anything. While everyone in the school thinks Harry is the heir of Slytherin, Harry thinks it's Draco Malfoy, and the 3 of them come up with a plan to ask Malfoy what he knows about the attacks, with Hermione brewing a potion to change them into the form of Malfoy's friends. This potion will take a while to brew, and in the meantime Harry has a Quidditch match against Slytherin, where a rogue bludger starts chasing Harry around the pitch, trying to knock Harry off his broom. It finally manages to hit him, breaking his arm, but Harry still catches the snitch and wins the game before passing out from the pain. Professor Lockhart tries to mend the bone, but ends up accidentally removing it completely, and Harry has to spend the night in the infirmary having it grown back. While he's there, Dobby visits him again and tells Harry he was responsible for the bludger, and says that Harry should go home because terrible things are about to happen at Hogwarts. Harry asks why Dobby is warning him, and Dobby says that Harry Potter had been a beacon of hope for House Elves after having defeated Lord Voldemort, and Dobby doesn't want to see him hurt by the beast from the Chamber of Secrets, now that it's been opened again. Harry is just asking about how it had been opened before when Dobby disappears, and a student is brought into the infirmary, petrified. Harry pretends to be asleep, while Dumbledore tells the nurse that the Chamber of Secrets has indeed been opened, and that the students aren't safe. The students form a dueling club to learn some self-defense. The club is led by their potions master, Professor Snape, and the somewhat useless Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Professor Lockhart. Harry ends up paired against Malfoy in a duel, and when Malfoy conjures a snake which gets riled up and goes at a student, Harry talks to it in Parseltongue, telling it not to attack. Snape dispels the snake, but everybody in the room is looking at Harry all funny. Ron explains later that being able to talk to snakes is incredibly rare, and was a hallmark of the wizard Salazar Slytherin, so that the whole school now definitely thinks that Harry is the heir who opened the Chamber of Secrets and attacked the student. When Harry tries to go find Justin, the student the snake had been looking at, to explain, the other students are convinced Harry just wants to finish the job. This is confirmed when Harry then finds Justin petrified in a hallway, with a paralyzed ghost of nearly headless Nick floating aside next to him. The students see Harry next to Justin and the ghost, and assume Harry is to blame. Harry is taken to talk to Professor Dumbledore. In the headmaster's office, Harry meets Dumbledore's phoenix, Fawkes, who bursts into flame right in front of Harry and turns to ash, coming back then as a new phoenix. Dumbledore assures Harry that he knows Harry didn't petrify the students, and asks if there's anything Harry wants to add. Harry doesn't want to admit to hearing the disembodied voice, so he doesn't, and Dumbledore lets him go. Harry, Ron, and Hermione stay over at the school for the Christmas holiday, and use the opportunity to use the Polyjuice potion to change into Malfoy's friends so they can ask Malfoy about the Chamber of Secrets. As Crabbe and Goyle, Ron and Harry ask Malfoy about the attacks, and Malfoy says his father knows all about when the chamber was first opened, but won't tell Malfoy anything about it, so he doesn't look suspicious. Ron and Harry leave, having found out that Malfoy wasn't behind the attacks, but that the previous one had been 50 years earlier. They get back to Hermione, who had accidentally transformed herself partially into a cat, having retrieved the wrong hair for her own potion. A few weeks later, Harry and Ron find another puddle of water outside Myrtle's abandoned bathroom, and go in to find out what she's upset about. She shows them a diary someone had tried to throw down a toilet, which was from a student who had been at the school 50 years earlier, Tom Riddle. Though the diary is empty, Harry finds that he can write in it and the diary will answer back, because it had been enchanted by its previous owner. When Harry asks about the opening of the Chamber of Secrets, the diary shows Harry the day Hagrid had been expelled, when he was trying to hide a huge spider in a box. Though Dumbledore maintained Hagrid's innocence, and later hires Hagrid as the groundskeeper, Hagrid was blamed at the time as the person who had opened the Chamber of Secrets. The three aren't sure what to do with the information, and don't want to ask Hagrid about the Chamber of Secrets, but then someone steals the diary out of Harry's room, and Hermione is found petrified, holding a mirror. Harry and Ron go to talk to Hagrid and ask him about the Chamber of Secrets, only to see him taken away as the suspect behind the attacks. Dumbledore is also forced to step down as headmaster. Before he leaves, Hagrid tells the boys that they should follow the spiders. The two of them follow a line of spiders out into the Forbidden Forest, to their king, Aragog, the huge old spider Hagrid had saved and released 50 years earlier. Aragog tells the boys that he is not the monster of the Chamber of Secrets, but that the true monster is their greatest unspoken enemy. He tells them that the monster's victim had died in a bathroom, but not by him. Then, figuring their conversation is over, he tells his spider children to eat Harry and Ron. The spiders are about to converge on them when they're chased off by Ron's car. It has gone feral in the Forbidden Forest, but is still willing to rescue the two of them. It takes them back to the edge of the forest and drops them there before driving back into the forest. Harry and Ron go to visit Hermione, and while they're there, they find a page torn from a book clutched in her hand that talks about the basilisk, a fearsome giant snake that can kill with a look. The page also has a word written on it: pipes. This tells Harry all he needs, and he tells Ron that the voice he's been hearing has been that of a basilisk as it travels through the plumbing in the walls of Hogwarts. Just as they figure it out, they get word that Ron's sister Ginny has been taken into the Chamber of Secrets. The two of them race to go tell Professor Lockhart what they know so he can help them and find and open the chamber door and save Ron's sister. They find Lockhart packing in a hurry to leave rather than preparing for a daring rescue like the ones he brags about in his books. Put on the spot, he admits that he didn't actually do the things in his books, but that his books sell better if people think he did the things in them. He admits to stealing the stories from those who actually did those things and then erasing their memories, as he prepares to do to Harry and Ron, but Harry disarms him, and they force him to come along with them to Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Harry has pieced together by now that Myrtle was the first victim of the monster from the Chamber of Secrets, and that she never left. They ask her how she died, and she points to the sink where she saw the giant glowing eyes right before she died. Thinking this is itself the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets, Harry speaks a bit of Parseltongue, and the sink opens up into a huge pipe going down below the castle. They force Lockhart to go down the pipe first before them, and then Harry and Ron slide down, to land in a deep cave underneath the castle. In the tunnels they find a huge discarded snake skin, and Gilderoy pretends to faint, grabbing at Ron's wand when he gets close. Gilderoy tries to shout a spell at both of them, only to have Ron's wand explode and the spell backfire, causing a small cave-in and erasing Lockhart's memory. Harry is separated from Ron and goes on alone. He comes to a door with two snakes entwined. Harry speaks some Parseltongue and the door opens, and Harry enters the Chamber of Secrets. Inside, Harry finds Ginny lying on the floor unconscious. The chamber is long and dark and filled with tremendous columns carved with snakes. Ginny is at the feet of a huge statue of a wizard, presumably Salazar Slytherin. Also in the chamber is the glowing form of Tom Riddle. Harry sees Tom and asks him to help with Ginny before the basilisk can find them. Tom assures Harry that the basilisk only comes when called, and then takes Harry's wand. Harry asks Tom what's going on, and Tom tells him that Ginny is giving her life to bring Tom back to life again through the diary. He tells Harry that Ginny had written too much in the diary, and Tom had taken advantage of this to take over Ginny, and that she was the one who opened the Chamber of Secrets while under his influence. Tom says that he's been very keen to meet Harry because Harry had killed Voldemort. When Harry asks why Tom would care that Voldemort came later, Tom explains that he is Lord Voldemort, that it was a name he gave himself when he wanted to get rid of his normal Muggle name. He had wanted a name people would be scared of, one that would pronounce him as a great wizard. Harry counters that he's not a great wizard, that Dumbledore would always be better. This pronouncement of faith calls Fawkes the Phoenix to Harry, and Fawkes brings with him the Sorting Hat. Tom decides he's waited long enough and calls the basilisk to attack Harry. Harry pulls a sword out of the sorting hat, and Fawkes flies up and blinds the basilisk, taking away its ability to kill with a look. Harry kills the basilisk with the sword, but is wounded by the basilisk's venomed fang. Tom tells Harry he's lost, but then Harry takes the basilisk fang and stabs the diary, which destroys Tom and breaks Tom's hold on Ginny. Harry thinks he's done for, but then Fawkes comes over and cures the poisoned wound with magical healing phoenix tears. Harry and Ginny go get Ron and Professor Lockhart, and the phoenix flies all four of them back up to Hogwarts. Back in Dumbledore's office, Harry explains what happened to Dumbledore, who has been returned to his position as headmaster. When Harry finishes, he asks why he wasn't placed in Slytherin House, since he speaks Parseltongue, and Dumbledore reminds them that he asked not to be. He tells Harry, "It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities." He also shows Harry that the sword he managed to pull out of the hat was the sword of Godric Gryffindor, the founder of Harry's house at Hogwarts. Malfoy's father Lucius shows up to see why Dumbledore has returned, and he brings Dobby along with. Dobby nods at the diary and then at Lucius, and Harry realizes that Mr. Malfoy had placed the diary in Ginny's books at the bookstore at the beginning of the school year. On his way out, Harry gives Lucius the diary back wrapped in a sock, and accuses Lucius Malfoy of planting the cursed item. Malfoy doesn't realize that the sock he throws off is grabbed by Dobby, thus freeing Dobby from Malfoy's service. Now free, Dobby prevents Malfoy from attacking Harry, and Malfoy leaves, swearing vengeance. There's a feast, and Harry is again declared a hero, and his house wins the House Cup for the year. The petrified students have all been cured, and Hagrid is released from prison to come back to the school. The book ends with the friends going back home for the summer on the train. So ends the second Harry Potter book. It's a fun read, full of danger and adventure and mystery. The ending in the Chamber of Secrets with the basilisk is amazing. It's a boy vanquishing a mighty beast with a sword, and who doesn't like that? Personally, I think books 2 and 3 of the Harry Potter series are as good as the series gets. The writing is tight, the action is well paced, and Rowling hasn't given over to the wordiness that comes in her later books in this series. Is it original? Gosh, no. I get into how Rowling mushed together the plots of a few books to get Chamber of Secrets in a separate episode, but the result works pretty well as a magical mystery. The movie for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was released for Christmas in 2002. Like the first film, this one was directed by Chris Columbus, and is yet another gorgeous piece of cinema. As with the first, the film is extraordinarily accurate to the book, again using much of the dialogue exactly as it is in the book. You don't get too many adaptations that are truly book accurate. The only other one I can think of is the BBC line The Witch in the Wardrobe. Most adaptations have to rewrite the story for the screen, and the end result is very different from the book. For the Harry Potter books, though, the fans were ardent, so the filmmakers couldn't change anything, and stuck to the material with a loyalty I find kind of commendable. The kids are all great, as they are throughout the whole series of movies, but because I've seen this movie what feels like 100 times, it was honestly kind of fun to watch the adults this time. I was actually really impressed this time by the guy who played Mr. Weasley, Mark Williams. I didn't give him any credit when I watched the movies before, but he's honestly great. And the same for Tom Riddle, actually, with Christian Coulson. For some reason, I've never really liked Kenneth Branagh as Lockhart. He just seems like too nice a guy to ever be as smarmy as Lockhart needs to be. Like, he wasn't willing to be bad enough to make Lockhart believable. Unlike Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy doing the full bad guy thing. Isaacs is fun to watch because he holds Malfoy still to convey coiled menace. And what can I say? I'm partial to guys with British accents and white blonde hair. So bad, but so hot. There really aren't that many changes plot-wise from the book. The biggest one was not including nearly headless Nick's Death Day party, instead folding Harry finding Filch's cat into the scene where he was doing detention. I don't mind this omission at all, as the Death Day party really doesn't add anything to the plot and probably could have been cut from the book as well. Also removed was the ghostly professor of magical history, Professor Binns. Binns doesn't show up in the Harry Potter movies, and his explanation of the Chamber of Secrets was given over to McGonagall instead. I think he was probably cut because he was boring. He was an ancient history teacher who puts his entire class to sleep. That was his whole deal. A scene they shot but later cut from the movie was the one with Lucius Malfoy in Borgin and Burkes. You can find it in the deleted scenes, and I was really surprised they cut this scene because it establishes Lucius Malfoy as malevolent and gets him talking about purebloods. Instead, Harry just pops out of the shop, and it's too bad because it was also his introduction to the darker side of Knockturn Alley. It's so integral to the plot that I mentally just splice it back into the movie. Otherwise, the movie is basically the same as the book. Just like the first movie, the thing the film does really well is add visuals to the story, and it does a spectacular job of that. Everything in this movie looks amazing. The Chamber of Secrets is gorgeous, with the avenue of snakes leading to the statue of Slytherin. For me, that scene in the movie is iconic. It's what I picture when I think of Harry Potter. It's kind of everything. Hidden underground chambers, wild magical beasts, mythical swords, an evil wizard, and a fantastic rescue. I also like all the other design touches. My personal favorite is the bottle of Skelligro, but the design work and everything is beautiful. Also, if you know what to look for, you can see the parts they filmed in Gloucester Cathedral, where they used the beautiful stonework in the hallways for the halls of Hogwarts. So, for book versus movie, I'm actually going with the movie. The visuals are so strong for Chamber of Secrets, I think they kind of eclipse their source. And like I said, the movie is line for line accurate to its source, so it's not like it was far from its material. It honestly feels weird to choose one, because it's like asking if the movie is better than the screenplay. I mean, yes, but really, what an odd distinction. I'm skipping side notes and going straight into the episode for origins for Chamber of Secrets. So if you're at all curious about where I think Rowling pulled inspiration and plot from, check out that episode, which should be coming soon. Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Rose, with Rose Colored Movies.